So welcome to Fresh Off the Boat. We are in season 2, and I'm delighted to be with Vrushank Agrawal, a student I've known since 2018. He's been one of our interesting pathfinders, so to speak. He chose to take a gap year, then also decided to also explore other destinations and options for studying abroad. And he's currently at Ecole Polytechnic near Paris in a beautiful campus, say 40 minutes from downtown Paris. So welcome, Vrushank. So the first question I have for you is, what led you to think about a gap year? What did you do during the gap year? And then how did you explore options other than looking at what you were currently, what you were pursuing then, thinking of the US only, and then switching to Europe, and then particularly choosing to be at Ecole?
Yeah, hi Arjun. Glad to be here. Yeah, coming to your question, then my top priorities, as you know, were like some American universities, and I was applying to a bunch of them, and I didn't apply to them before my gap year. Actually, I decided to do that after my gap year. I knew some friends who came over here, and I had heard some good reviews. Especially some in the UK and a couple in France. So I ended up applying, just for diversity of options, and then later on figure out which one to take. So when I had these options, I was kind of, in the middle of should I go for physics or computer science, because these were two paths I was looking at. And when I was looking at all the programs, I kind of felt and realized, that the one, especially in this university at Ecole Polytechnique, was offering me, a more rigorous academic background and a more rigorous, program in the sense of learning and opportunities than its American counterpart. So I went into, deep, like I did some deep research into the kind of courses, the professors they were here, and I realized that the program, especially like the bachelor program here at Ecole Polytechnic, was kind of built uh, with like an engineering mindset, and which was really, what I wanted, and was not really offered in other programs in America. Also the fact that it was cheaper kind of helped that. So both of these things combined, I ended up taking this decision, and based also on reviews from my friends who had, because that always helps. So that's how I ended up, taking this path and coming here to Paris.
So how was it like? What did you expect when you landed there on campus? And what was the first reaction, so to speak?
So I never been to Europe before, so it was a very, surreal experience to be honest. Like, and because it was COVID times, my parents weren't with me, so I was just alone, in this new country, trying to fit in, and trying to get to know more people. And I was like a 4 days later, like late from the welcome day, so it's not exactly on time. I missed some cohesion activities, but uh, I I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. I was just there, and I was open to new opportunities and to meet new people. And because so like my program is very small as well, like it has 120 kids, so everyone ends up knowing everyone else, which is great, because it gives you a sense of community. And the first initial days, because it was COVID time, it was not the perfect, but I ended up hanging out with like a lot of people from all over the world, and it was a very learning first few weeks. So I was here with the expectation of, like starting with my academics as soon as I get in because of the structure of the program, but I ended up, socializing a lot with, people, and I learned a lot about, different cultures, new places, and what other people think around the world. So that was an amazing experience, the first initial few months.
Great. So, what about the language issue? Instructions in certain like was it a hindrance for you? How did it go in class and outside of class?
So like my program here is completely in English, and because I knew a bit of French before, I kind of made it through the initial few days. But in general speaking, the French, you should know, like when you're in France, you should know French, because the French have this, they don't really like English speaking people. It's different with the Germans and other European countries, but in France, they prefer French. So that was a bit of a hindrance, but not that much because everyone at my university spoke English and all the professors were comfortable. It's a very international university, to be honest. So at university, not a big problem. In Paris, yeah, probably you want to know French.
Great. So when you say instructions are in English and the cohort is small
Mhm.
and it's very international, so what kind of activities beyond like just studying for class? What kind of interactions do you plan? And since Europe is such a interesting location to sort of travel to different parts of Europe, what does the university do, or what students groups do to plan their weekends, or you know,
So
planning stuff?
uh, it's like it's a balance you try to figure out as you are on campus because during the weekdays during classes it's very intense because you end up having like 25 hours of lectures and tutorials, and then you have to socialize with friends as well. So eventually people so like one thing you do is you try to get weekly or monthly passes to go downtown Paris, enjoy with friends over Friday nights and Saturday Sundays. But on campus we have these a lot of sports committees and performing arts committees, and we have socializing events over Fridays and Saturdays, which people usually attend. But it's usually like in terms of group activities, if you're talking about traveling, so because it's like a small community, it's very it's kind of simpler to organize these activities, which happen like around 2 times a semester. We have these breaks, and then we organize these trips to. So like recently there was a trip to Switzerland. We went skiing in February. It was a group of like 120 150 people. So that was an amazing experience because you get to spend 3 4 days skiing on Swiss Alps, with all of your friends, and it's a great cohesion activity. So these are the kind of things that the administration also organizes regularly, but not too often because the program is very academic centric as well at the same time. So there needs to be that balance.
So, Ecole Polytechnic's history has been, like you were informing me earlier over a call, was it's one of the finest in
Mhm.
Paris, in or in France, and of course one of the few best in Europe as well. So, is it really rigorous? What is the academic workload like for math and a computer science student?
So well, actually, I mean, if you talk about rankings, like this university is the second best in the world in terms of small universities. So Caltech is like the best, and then Ecole Polytechnique. So in terms of international reputation and academic rigor, it is it's undisputed, and the math community, especially here, is one of the strongest. The research which is done is at the top of their levels, and that's one of like the attractions in France, especially because so like I'm currently doing the bachelor program, but there's a separate engineer program which is over like mostly taught in French. Because you have to do some sort of preparation, like the prepper they call it here. You have to do that to get into that program, and that is a very uh, that is like the most popular thing at Ecole Polytechnic, and that is what is sold here. So, in terms of academic rigor, it is very mathematical because even when I'm doing computer science or economics or physics, we do it from a theoretical perspective. So, yeah, uh, that answers your question.
Yeah, sure. And what do you think is the computer science degree all about, especially at Ecole? How is it designed? How is it maybe different from what you perhaps know of, say, what would be at a
So,
college in the US?
I that's a very good that's a very interesting point actually because while I'm through doing this degree, I'm doing both mathematics and computer science, and if I compare with some of my friends in the US or other places in the world, I realize that I am doing what they would do, but a bit extra as well in terms of the mathematical foundations of the subject. So that is something which adds on to the rigor of the course. So I'm it's if you want to say, if you're like trying to compare my level of the exposure I'm getting in terms of application based learning, I would say it's at the same level with American universities, but I'm also adding that rigor in the theoretical aspects because of the mathematical backgrounds and the mathematical foundations that the university expects its students to have.
Great. So, what is a typical day for you like? How many hours of class or lectures, seminar,
So
library,
I
all of that?
Uh, it's very interesting because some lectures. It really depends. In every university, this is true that you don't want to attend all of the lectures. Like some of the professors you find very interesting, and you want to go and sit in their classes, have like ask them questions, have conversations, and try to understand beyond the course in general. But some classes, the professors are not that interest like they're not interested in teaching that much, just like one or two. So sometimes you miss those lectures. So it really depends from day to day. But if I'm attending, lectures a day, I usually study for like around 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours a day. And I usually sit in the library for like a couple of like the library here is amazing. It's wonderful. So I end up there with some of my friends. We sit and we study for a couple of hours. Then one thing which is very which American universities do not have is like we have tutorial classes which are in person, like 10, 15 students with the one or two tutors or the professor, and there we solve questions, one on one in a sense. So that is something which is very unique, and that is something which I always attend. So in a typical day, I end up studying like 6 hours. I socialize with my friends in the evening. We play, board games. We go around. So there's a couple of forests around. So we just go for a like a hike, or we go to the barbecue near the lake. We have a lake on campus, which is amazing. So we end up doing a barbecue over the weekends. So usually, like it is balanced. Like there's no day where I'm just socializing too much. Maybe some Saturdays, but it's a balance between academics and social life. Because otherwise, if you socialize too much, you get behind the academics. If you study too much, well, then you're not really living your life.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well said. So, you've done like almost, you'll complete 2 years now there. So,
Mhm.
and it's a 3-year program. So it's very fast paced, it seems like, given that you're saying that it's more than what you've seen typically a student in the US would end up doing with that math major also thrown in. What about preparation for the next phase of your life, either pursuing further academics or looking at jobs and internships? How is
So,
the program designed to help you with all that?
so the program, like in I think the introductory, when you're introduced to the program, they kind of do mention that it is designed to help you pursue master's studies after that, which does make sense because we are still like all of the subjects we are doing or working on are very theoretical and academic based. So they kind of do give you an idea that you are going into an academia sort of future, maybe a master's or a PhD directly. So a lot of students do that, but uh, getting internships because you're at École Polytechnique, it's a big name in France. Getting internship is not that big of a problem. Like you just start looking at your network of LinkedIn, ask professors, or apply for jobs. So, just internships. It's not that it's pretty like most students usually get internships. So getting into industry afterwards is not that big of a problem because you have the École Polytechnique tag, which kind of helps you. But the program specifically does promote or like wants you in a sense to pursue further studies in academia. So like in my case, like I did an internship last summer as well in a company here. I built some platforms and backend. I worked on the back end of the platforms, and this summer as well I'm working with a professor in the industry. So it's it's pretty straightforward getting internships.
Oh, awesome. It sounds like an interesting place for that too. So when you say you work over the summer, will this summer be in person? Like you will have to stay back? in France?
So it's a hybrid state of working. I have to go like 2 or 3 days to office in downtown Paris, and the rest of the days I can do whatever I want. So I'm planning to visit Europe and do remote work across Europe. What like when I can. So maybe go to Budapest or Italy over the weekend. Spend some days work remotely. That's what I plan to do.
That's the life everyone dreams of.
Exactly.
And starting off early and having a work from anywhere life is sounding so Gen Z, I must say. But
It is. It is.
yeah, all the best with that, and look forward to following your journey, Shank. So there, just going to summarize, and you can also summarize after I summarize, is that choosing France and finding such a like prestigious university and sort of getting in and now thriving there has been pretty much your story. Also, the math and CS major, the way it's defined, there's so much work that anyone would want to hire you as an intern or even graduate. You choose to do a master's later on. And of course, the quality of life seems pretty interesting. Your Europe in your backyard and so many cities to visit and things to do. So all in all, super excited that you've made the right choice. Very few students have ventured in your sort of direction, but yeah, what is it like? Do you see many more international students applying, getting in, or not?
Sorry, I lost.
So do you see many more international students coming in, or it's very selective and very few make it?
So because the program is a bit new in a sense, it's just like 5 or 6 years old. It was actually 1 second. There's a disturbance here.
Yeah, no problem.
1 second. Yeah. So as I was saying, yeah. So like this program is a bit new. So it was initially not as selective, but in the past 1 or 2 years, it has been very, very selective, and like the kind of students I have are just amazing. Like in the recent batch, we had like 20 international Olympiad gold medalists out of 150. So that just gives you a sense of how competitive it is, and it's amazing to learn from these learn from these people every day. They have these new interesting ideas they're working on, and it's just amazing in the coursework. Like one thing I would like to add in general is that European programs from what I've seen, living here for 2 years, is that they are more intense than American counterparts. Even if you go to Switzerland, you talk about ETH or EPFL, which come in the top 15 universities around the world. Like the programs they are much more rigorous than what the American universities offer in general. So it does make sense, that it is more competitive, and you're always working, you're always with some new interesting ideas trying to figure out, because like every month there's a new project that you can work on. So it's amazing.
Thank you so much, Vrushank, for all the information about Ecole Polytechnic, and looking forward to sending more students your way and many more
Sure.
to Europe in the years to come. Take care and look forward to staying in